All right. All right, what's going on, guys? I want to talk to you guys about the 2024 riding season, just kind of recap everything that I did. Starting out 2024, we went to Thailand in February. I went solo travel Thailand. I flew over to Bangkok. I stayed in Bangkok for a couple of days. Then I went up north. I went to Chiang Mai. I flew to Chiang Mai. When I got there, I rented a motorcycle and I rode it to the top of the Doi Inthanon. It's the tallest peak in Thailand, and it was awesome. It was phenomenal. 5, 6 years ago, I went to Thailand and I rented a moped and I tried to go to the top, and it was rainy season. We got like halfway up to the top and rained out and could not make it. So I felt really good to get to the top of the Doi Inthanon this year. Went back down to Chiang Mai. I rented a scooter and I explored that whole area, that northern farming community. I was riding mopeds in like rice paddy fields and jumped like lakes and rivers in northern Thailand, seeing waterfalls, and it was just an unbelievable, unforgettable experience up there. I met a lot of cool dudes up there in Chiang Mai, and after Chiang Mai, I flew to Krabi. Krabi was an awesome experience. It is right next to all these huge limestone cliffs. So if you guys get a chance, Krabi is another great place in my experience to go ride a moped around and see beautiful Thailand landscape. It's also right there on the water, so you can go down to the ocean, see the beaches too, and then there's plenty of stuff to ride to as well. And then I went to Koh Samui. I did the Koh Samui viewpoint, and I also did the entire island loop on Koh Samui on a moped. And I got a bunch of footage of just riding around mopeds in different parts of Thailand. And everywhere I went, I rented a moped and rode as much as I could, got as much footage as I could, and it was a great time. I can't wait to go back to Thailand. I don't know when I can, just because I've been spending a lot of money here in the Sportster, but I would love to, and I'd love to do that soon. So what I'd like to see happen is for me to go to Thailand and then rent a motorbike or fly into Vietnam, and then I would really like to go through Cambodia and see the Angkor Wat and into Vietnam, retrace my dad's kind of footprints of how he went into Vietnam, and then go back to Thailand. That'd be an ultimate journey. And so moving forward, it came into riding season here in South Dakota. I rode as much as I could until June. I did get a tour pack around that time, and I got that tour pack through Advan Black. Shout out Advan Black, and I ended up packing that baby up, and I went all the way to California. So day one of that 4,500-mile road trip, I did the Ride 1K in a Day challenge, and I got it first try. I was successful in completing that. I went from here, Hermosa, South Dakota, into Wyoming, and all the way to St. George, Utah, is where I stopped for the night. It was at like 1,014 miles. I just made it. My goal was to make it from here to Las Vegas on that first day, and St. George was all I could handle, man. It was a lot. It was 22 hours straight on the motorcycle without any breaks. I mean, it was get gas, have a snack, have some water, fill up water, and go as fast as you could. So, although it was a very fun challenge, I don't know if I'm going to do it 2025. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't have any immediate plans on recreating it right at this moment. So happy to have accomplished that though on my first try, and I'll make a whole video about how to accomplish that Saddle Sore 1000 in your first go, because I watched a couple good videos about it. I think I have a couple good tips for myself for you as well. So I went from St. George, Utah into Irvine, California. I stayed with my cousin for 2 days, and then I went from Irvine to San Diego. I got to go right by Camp Pendleton area, and I even got to go on Camp Pendleton. My older brother is a Marine helicopter pilot. He's an officer of the Marine Corps, and got to go work out on Camp Pendleton, and it was really, really cool getting to see the old Marine Corps way of life. I know I got out of the Marine Corps in 2010, so just being back around the military again, it was really cool. It was a really cool experience to go and see those guys and ride on the coastline next to them. So when I left, I went up the 101 and Pacific Coast Highway, and I followed that through LA, beat most of that LA traffic by staying as close to the coast as I could, and then I ended that day at San Luis Obispo. So I took that coastline the whole way. My favorite part of the Pacific Coast Highway was the Ventura Highway area near Ventura, California, and at that point, San Luis Obispo, that next morning, I woke up and I went diagonal to Yosemite. When I got to Yosemite, I went through Yosemite, and I really just blitzed through it. Now, kind of looking back at it, I wish I would have taken more time going through Yosemite. I need to go back and put this where that next day in St. George, Utah, after I did the ride 1K in a day challenge the first day, that very next day I got to go through Zion National Park. And I didn't ride my motorcycle through Zion, but I did. I had my friend who lives in Zion, and he was nice enough to drive me in his car through the park and back, and I just got to film the whole experience. It was really beautiful. I made a video all about that. So I also went through Vegas that same day too. Vegas, and then going through Vegas was super hot. We were talking like over 100 degrees, and it got to the point where there's no trees there. You're just driving through the desert floor for hours on end, and I was worried. I was thinking, man, if you break down right here, you're just gonna sit here and bake in the sun. So it was sketchy. I ended up getting like a whole bunch more water and just keeping it on the bike because I didn't know, what if anything could have happened. I didn't want to be stranded out there without water. It's a good way to die. So went through Vegas. I got my photos at the Las Vegas sign, welcome to Las Vegas sign. I stopped right there by the welcome to Las Vegas sign. There's a Harley Davidson. And I stopped there, soaked my clothes entirely in the bathroom sink, cooled off for a while, and then I went back out and rode the rest of the way to Irvine. It was, interestingly enough, insanely hot that whole day. When I got close to the coast at Irvine, it got cold, and it was so cold that I had to put all my layers on. So then riding that coast highway going up to San Luis Obispo, I did that because that inner corridor of California was already at over 100 something degrees. So I stayed on that Pacific Coast Highway because I wanted to be cool. But it was way cooler than I thought. In June, they call it the June bloom. I thought it was going to be babes in bikinis on the beaches, and it was actually cold. So I was riding in sweatshirt, full leather, and a rain suit, Thrash and Supply rain gloves, full face helmet, and it was still chilly. So it was not something I anticipated. By the time I got to Yosemite was beautiful. I would really love to go back to Yosemite and do it again. I think that I could stay in Yosemite probably for a full 2 days, just exploring, actually walking up to each one of those big waterfalls. Some of those giant waterfalls are falling from hundreds of feet and just like spraying out into mist. It's such a cool thing to see, and I wish I would have maybe taken a little bit more time there. But when I got there, I told myself, all right, yeah, I got there. I Googled how far away I was from the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and I thought that I could get there by sunset. In my mind, I thought this would be cool for footage. I'll get myself crossing the Golden Gate Bridge on sunset, and I did that. So I jetted again diagonally across California towards the coast. I got to San Francisco, and I got the Golden Gate Bridge at sunset, and I got the footage, I got the video, and it was awesome. And then I spent the next week in Northern California in the Avenue of the Giants and exploring that northern portion of California, the Redwoods, and it was unbelievable. I haven't made the video on the Avenue of the Giants yet. If you guys have the chance to go ride in Northern California, it was so awesome. And I will absolutely be going up there again. I ended up going through Lake Tahoe, over Donner Pass, into Salt Lake City, and then from Salt Lake City, I did, what was it, Provo, Utah, into Dinosaur, Colorado. I went past that Dinosaur National Monument. I'd like to go back to Colorado to the Dinosaur National Monument and just do some time riding through that entire monument. That whole deserty, rock outcroppy landscape is really, really beautiful. So I ended up going through Steamboat Springs and then back home. And I had never been through Steamboat Springs, that whole pass that goes into Wyoming, back to South Dakota. I rode a lot during the summer here in the hills. Unfortunately, Highway 385 was closed last year. I think it'll be closed this next year too. And that's where I like to travel a lot. From here at Deadwood, I do that ride often, and I didn't get to do that ride. I did it one time last year, so it was a real big bummer. But I did ride a lot here. During the Sturgis Rally, I typically don't ride too much. I'm always out every day, partying at the Buffalo Chip and doing everything I do out there and film the main street and stuff. But I don't get out and like ride around the Black Hills at that time because it's really congested and it's more dangerous than the other times of the year at that time. So I did do the entire loop of the Black Hills this year. I went from here, 385, Deadwood to Cheyenne Crossing, out into Wyoming, all the way around to the backside of Custer, and then through Custer State Park and then back. So that goes around the entire loop of the Black Hills, and I've never done that ride in the full. It's like 4.5 hours. It's pretty cool. In September, my dad and I went on a 2,500-mile road trip. We did Colorado for Four Corners Rally, and it was quite an amazing trip. My 74-year-old dad packed up a tent and an air mattress, and we went out and road camped behind the Durango Harley Davidson. Day one, we went to Fort Collins, woke up Fort Collins. We ended up going to, right before Copper Mountain, you take a left on the 70 and then go towards Leadville. We rode to Leadville. That whole pass from Copper Mountain to Leadville is gorgeous. Leadville itself was awesome. We stopped. We had a barbecue there, and then we rode from Leadville to Pagosa Springs. And that right there is one of my favorite rides. You go through like Buena Vista and Wolf Creek Pass and into Pagosa Springs. It's such a beautiful mountain ride. I would recommend anybody go take that ride if you, whether you're on a motorcycle or not. It's such a beautiful place to go see. Pagosa Springs is one of my favorite places of all times. I've been there several times. This is my second time being there on a motorcycle trip. It's so cool because you can just go right there to the public river. It's a river that goes right through town, and there'll be like warm, hot springs pools built right into the river. And there's nothing like it. The mountain feel of that town, you're nestled way up in the mountains. It takes hours to drive into Pagosa Springs. So it really takes some dedications into driving into that place. And that's why I think there's not a lot of people there. So it's a nice, quaint little small mountain town. It's beautiful, and I absolutely love it. So went down, stayed. It was a quality inn. We had caught a couple beers, and I sat down in the river for a little while and just soaked in the hot springs, thinking about how awesome it was that me and my dad were on a motorcycle trip together, and it was special. The next morning we woke up, it was like 48 degrees, seeing our breath, and we ended up hanging out. I convinced my dad to wait for another like 3 hours because we were up at the crack of dawn before sunrise, and he was already like, "Oh, let's go." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not gonna ride at 48 degrees in dark. Like, let's wait, have some coffee." So we had coffee. We woke up. We headed to Durango. When we got to Durango, like I said, we were road camping behind Durango Harley Davidson. We did not have permission to do that. So shout out Durango Harley Davidson. I'm not sure if you guys ever watched my video or not, but motorcycle rally was kind of picking up right when we got there, and there was event stuff all happening there at the Durango Harley Davidson dealership. We kind of saw an area where we thought we could set up camp, and we decided to go ride to the Mesa Verde Cliff Dwellers. And that's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I lived in Colorado for 4 years, and I never got down there. I'd even been down to Durango and skied at Purgatory a couple times, and I had not been down to the Mesa Verde area. So my dad and I rode to Mesa Verde. We saw the Cliff Dwellers. We rode all around the Cliff Dweller Park, and it was a really cool experience. And then we were right there, so we rode to the Four Corners Monument at the corner of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Jesus, whatever the other state was. So after we saw Four Corners, we packed up. We went back to Durango, and we saw the Eyes Brothers Wall of Death and the Biltwell Chopper Show, and we did all the things that we could do at the La Plata County Fairgrounds at the Four Corners Rally, and that was really cool. The next day, we ended up doing the $1 Million Highway to Ouray and back. We also went back to the La Plata County Fairgrounds. We checked out all the things they had to offer. The Drifter Cross was really cool. I got a good video of that stuff. We went back to Durango Harley Davidson. We road camped again, and then we packed our stuff up. That next day, we went through the other pass to Telluride, past Telluride, back into Ridgeway, and then up all the way to Palisade, Colorado. We had lunch at my boy Russell. Shout out to Russell, the Reckless Chef. He has the Reckless Roadhouse in Quebec, Colorado. We had lunch there. It was absolutely amazing. And then we rode to Craig. We stayed at a hotel in Craig, Colorado, and that was our last night on the road. I think my dad was getting pretty tired. I was falling into the groove, and it was awesome. So we ended up coming back, made it safe. The trip went absolutely perfectly. I think the whole time, like, we saw rain a bunch of times, and one time we put our suits on and like rode through some water that was on the ground, but it never actually rained on us. So it was like the whole time, man, God, the universe was looking after us and blessing us with perfect weather. Even though we might see rain right in front of us or right behind us, it never actually got us. So it was beautiful. It was a perfect time, man. It was absolutely perfect. So, but the end of the year, I ended up with 12,000, I think 12,200 miles on my bike. I did the 4,500-mile trip to California and back. I did the 2,500-mile trip to Colorado and back, and the rest of the miles were all right here, local in the Black Hills. I did also ride from here to the river and back to Fort Pierre, and I saw my boys down there in Fort Pierre, and that was a good 4-hour run, if I'm not mistaken. So I got a couple good long rides in this summer. It really taught me a lot about. I love long distance riding. You know, I can't wait to go across the country again. If you're watching this now, and the plans for 2025 is, I'd really love to hit the lower 48 on my motorcycle this coming summer. If I can, I might even be tempted to ride through Canada into Alaska, and so I could hit 49 states on my motorcycle this year. It's possible, but you guys, I also, after rally, I bought a Sportster that I'm going to turn into a chopper. You can see I got it torn down all the way down to the frame now. If you guys have been following along with that, I appreciate it. I'm super excited for the chopper. Next steps on the chopper to get it sandblasted down to rear bare metal, prime it, paint it, and then we're putting it back together. So I appreciate all the support. And the channel hit 1 million views this year, and it really meant a lot to me. I got good, positive feedback this year everywhere. I got recognized a lot at the rally, at the Buffalo Chip. A lot of people came up and said, "Hey, I watched your videos while they were partying with me at the Buffalo Chip," and that was really cool. I can't wait to continue that. I can't wait to continue those videos and the informational videos, the how-tos, the 101s, everything. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you next time.